Hello, Chosen One. The darkness has been pressing hard this week because it sees what you can't see yet, the door that's about to open. You have been walking through a timeline recently where the spiritual gravity has felt incredibly dense, almost suffocating. You have experienced a bizarre, unprovoked resurgence of psychic attacks, a thick atmospheric pressure of jealousy, and a sudden, inexplicable hostility emanating from people you used to trust or people you barely even interact with anymore. You might have found yourself staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night, utterly exhausted, asking yourself if you have made a catastrophic misstep. You have been wondering if this intense pressure, this isolating crucible, is some sort of divine punishment or a sign that your light is somehow fading, that you have failed a fundamental test of your spiritual journey. Let me be the one to permanently shatter that illusion for you right now. You have not failed. The enemy is not attacking you because you are weak, and the toxic, performative forces in your life are not swarming around you because you are defeated. They are panicking. They are attacking you with a chaotic, frantic desperation, specifically because of what is hurtling toward you on the horizon. They can smell the absolute, irreversible shift in your frequency. They can sense the profound architectural changes happening within your spirit. The attack you are enduring today is not a penalty. It is absolute, concrete, undeniable proof of your imminent promotion. The darkness is throwing everything it has left at you because it is utterly terrified of the timeline you are stepping into right now. But I have a promise for you, a guarantee written into the very spiritual laws of this universe. This specific struggle, this exhausting cycle of having to defend your light against people who are completely committed to misunderstanding you, is ending. It is ending within the next 24 hours. By the time you finish digesting the frequency of this message, the energetic cords that have been holding you in this holding pattern will be completely severed. The resolution is here, not by some random stroke of luck or a coincidence of the universe, but because of the deep, agonizing, unseen internal work you have been doing in the dark. You are finally crossing the threshold. I'm Brian. For decades I've been writing spiritual content and helping people to achieve real awakening, guiding individuals just like you out of the labyrinth of toxic human behavior, performative manipulation, and the artificial matrices that keep the chosen stagnant. Over the years, I have watched thousands of highly anointed individuals navigate the exact crucible you are currently surviving. I have mapped the patterns, the predictable, mathematically certain behaviors of insecure, spiritually bankrupt people when they are confronted by a genuine, undeniable light. The premise of our conversation today is rooted in a raw, uncomfortable truth. The reason so many people in your life are currently exposing themselves, dropping their carefully constructed masks, and showing you their bitter colors is simply because the sheer rising heat of your frequency is melting the wax of their fake personas. They can no longer sustain the act. Before we dive into the absolute psychological teardown of what is happening around you and exactly how you are going to handle it, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the like button to physically cement your energetic alignment with this message. Drop a comment with what point hit you the hardest today, and share this video with another chosen one who is entirely tired of playing small. We are building an empire of truth here, and your presence is a foundational pillar of that mission. Step 1. Dismantle the suffocating architecture of false modesty and unleash your undeniable signature. For the majority of your life, you have been deeply conditioned to believe that your brilliance is a massive burden to others. You learned, likely in your formative years or in highly toxic relationship dynamics, that shining too brightly automatically triggers the deep-seated insecurities of the people in the room. So, you developed an incredibly sophisticated trauma response that you masqueraded as a virtue: false modesty. You learned exactly how to shrink your aura, how to systematically dumb down your profound insights, and how to apologize for your natural God-given gifts. You meticulously built an entire architecture of self-diminishment just to make sure the stagnant, performative people around you felt perfectly comfortable in their own chosen mediocrity. You treated your own calling as if it were a dirty secret, something to be hidden away lest it offend the fragile egos of those who absolutely refuse to do the internal work required to grow. But chosen one, that era of subsidizing their comfort with your suppression is violently coming to a close. You are currently stepping into a brand new paradigm where you must actively, deliberately, and ruthlessly dismantle every single mechanism you have used to hide your authentic signature. You must recognize the profound contrast between your authentic alignment and their entirely performative facade. Your authentic alignment operates entirely from the soul. It is effortless, flowing, and deeply rooted in a divine source that does not require rehearsal, memorization, or public validation to exist. It is an internal architecture built upon truth, resilience, and genuine communion with the Creator. In stark, almost embarrassing contrast, the imitators and haters surrounding you operate entirely from a carefully memorized script. They have spent years constructing a highly performative facade, a hollow, paper-thin shell of an identity that has been desperately pieced together from societal trends, stolen aesthetics, and frantic, never-ending pleas for external validation. They do not know who they are in the dark. They only know who they are when there is an audience available to applaud them. Because of this, their entire existence is a precarious, exhausting balancing act that requires an immense amount of caloric and emotional output just to maintain the illusion of depth. When you suddenly drop the false modesty and begin to operate in your full capacity, you trigger a massive, undeniable psychological meltdown within these individuals. They are not merely jealous of you, they are existentially terrified of you. Your effortlessness completely exposes the exhausting, grueling nature of their daily performance. They watch you achieve with quiet grace exactly what they cannot achieve with years of frantic, neurotic striving. The psychology here is raw and uncompromising. They rely heavily on you keeping your head down because as long as you are playing small, they can pretend they are the main character in the room. They desperately need you to be the understudy so they can continue to butcher the lead role without anyone noticing. The precise moment you decide to unleash the raw, unapologetic force of your true calling, their entire reality fractures. They realize, with a sickening drop in their stomachs, that they cannot possibly compete with true anointing. They cannot strategize, scheme, or manipulate their way into divine favor. They are frantic because your unbridled light acts as a high-definition mirror, reflecting back to them the absolute, terrifying emptiness of their own carefully curated lives. Trying to compete with you when you are fully aligned is like trying to catch a raging primordial hurricane in a fragile, mass-produced plastic cup. It is a goofy, fundamentally absurd endeavor. You are a massive weather event. They are holding a piece of cheap Tupperware, shouting into the wind. The sheer absurdity of their competitive nature would be hilarious if it wasn't so deeply tragic. They actually believe that if they just try a little harder, if they just mimic your vocabulary a little better, they can somehow contain the storm of your calling. They do not understand that the plastic cup of their ego is already melting under the intense heat of your frequency. By holding yourself back, you have been trying to carefully pour your oceanic depth into their tiny little thimble, constantly apologizing when it inevitably spills over and makes a mess on their floor. But the structural integrity of their thimble is not your responsibility. Your light is meant to strike, to illuminate, and to alter the landscape forever. You must show them what you do best without checking to see if they approve of the space you are occupying. You must deeply understand the profound spiritual weight of your visibility in this season. Holding back is no longer an act of humility. It is an act of blatant rebellion against the divine calling placed upon your life. When you show them what you do best, you are not bragging. You are simply occupying the exact amount of space you were always meant to occupy since the moment you were conceived. The intense discomfort they feel when you finally shine is not your responsibility to manage. It is their invitation to heal, an invitation they will likely reject, choosing instead to attack you because attacking you is so much easier than fixing themselves. Let them. Let their minds short-circuit as they desperately try to comprehend how you continue to rise without playing their petty political games, without kissing the rings of toxic gatekeepers, and without compromising even a single ounce of your integrity. You are officially done minimizing your frequency to subsidize their comfort. Step 2. Sever the clandestine energetic umbilical cord of their performative validation. There is a profound, incredibly insidious trap that chosen ones frequently fall into, a snare meticulously designed by those who are vehemently committed to misunderstanding you. This trap is the endless, exhausting cycle of the required explanation. Because you possess a beautiful, deeply empathetic desire to create harmony, to be genuinely understood, and to ensure that everyone around you feels secure, you have historically over-communicated your intentions. When toxic, highly performative people challenge your motives, question your boundaries, or deliberately twist your words to fit their victim narrative, your immediate instinct is to explain yourself. You lay out your logical rationale, you offer your pure heart on a silver platter, and you engage in exhaustive, hours-long dialogues, operating under the deeply flawed assumption that if you can just find the precise combination of words, they will finally see your true intentions. You must awaken to the agonizing psychological reality right now. They already know your intentions are pure. They are not challenging you because they are genuinely confused. They are challenging you purely to keep you energetically engaged in their chaotic, low-vibrational arena. They are expertly weaponizing your desire for harmony and turning it into a leash. The contrast here is between your sincere pursuit of authentic connection and their absolute terrifying addiction to the scoreboard of validation. You are actively seeking a shared, elevating truth. They are seeking a tactical advantage to soothe their crushing inferiority complex. When you engage in these cyclical, deeply draining conversations, you are attempting to build a sturdy bridge towards someone who is actively standing on the other side with dynamite, blowing up every plank you lay down. They do not want resolution. Resolution implies finality, peace, and moving forward. They want supply. They want the intoxicating, ego-boosting feeling of watching a powerful, deeply gifted, highly anointed individual desperately trying to justify their existence to them. By over-explaining your boundaries, your life choices, or the trajectory of your spiritual calling, you are unconsciously handing them the judge's gavel. You are submitting your divine alignment to a bureaucratic review board composed of insecure clowns. You are asking for permission to be the exact person the Creator already ordained you to be, feeding an energetic umbilical cord that drains your vitality straight into their void. The deep psychology underlying their behavior is rooted in a frantic, terrifying need for absolute control. As you begin to pull away and operate from a place of sovereign independence, showing them what you do best, their internal alarm bells become deafening. They are utterly terrified by the realization that you no longer require their approval to function. Because they possess absolutely no internal architecture, no inner compass, and no self-generated light, they rely entirely on the friction of external conflict to prove to themselves that they even exist. If they can make you angry, if they can make you cry out of frustration, if they can force you to spend 3 agonizing hours defending a boundary you already clearly communicated, they feel incredibly powerful. Your lengthy explanation is their lifeblood. It is the energetic currency they use to fund their false identity. Therefore, the moment you simply stop explaining, the moment you take the scissors of your spiritual authority and violently sever the energetic cord of performative validation, you plunge them into a state of psychological starvation. They are forced to sit alone in the deafening, terrifying silence of their own total emptiness, and there is absolutely nothing in this universe that terrifies an imitator more than the sound of their own hollow interior. Trying to logically explain your spiritual altitude to these individuals is entirely akin to trying to teach advanced physics to a flock of pigeons. It absolutely does not matter how brilliantly you strategize, how masterfully you move your chalk across the board, or how eloquently and patiently you explain the laws of thermodynamics. The pigeon is simply going to knock over all the pieces, defecate on your desk, and aggressively strut around as if it has just secured a massive historical victory. It is an entirely pointless, profoundly goofy endeavor. You are utilizing a high-level, multi-dimensional frequency of logic and emotional intelligence on an entity that is operating entirely on a baseline, survivalist level of ego preservation. It is a fundamental mismatch of energetic operating systems. Breaking this habit requires a terrifying but absolutely vital leap of faith into your own sovereignty. You must rigorously train your central nervous system to comfortably tolerate being the designated villain in their heavily edited, highly distorted, completely fictitious version of reality. You have to become completely unbothered by being misunderstood by people who are actively committed to a narrative where you are the problem. From this exact moment forward, your moves belong entirely to you. You do not issue press releases for your boundaries. You do not hold town hall meetings to justify the promptings of your intuition. When you sense toxicity, you simply and quietly revoke their access. When they frantically demand an explanation for your sudden distance, you offer them nothing but the absolute, impenetrable, terrifying wall of your silence. You are done holding back, and you are entirely done translating your magnificent soul into a language your haters can comprehend. Let them choke on their confusion as you effortlessly ascend and show them exactly what you do best. Step 3. Observe their frantic mimicry as a desperate confession of spiritual bankruptcy. One of the most uniquely disorienting, profoundly uncomfortable, and deeply maddening phenomena you will ever experience as a chosen one is observing the grotesque behavior of the covert imitator. As you continue to aggressively awaken, as you accumulate real spiritual mass and undeniable authentic gravity, you will inevitably attract individuals who fiercely covet the respect and peace your character commands, but who possess absolutely zero intention of doing the agonizing internal work required to build that character themselves. These people quickly mutate into spiritual skinwalkers. You will notice them quietly studying your cadence, adopting your highly specific vocabulary, mirroring your carefully curated aesthetic, and suddenly publicly proclaiming the exact same spiritual values that you have embodied quietly for years. They are attempting to reverse engineer your anointing. They meticulously observe the external manifestations of your profound internal alignment and operate under the deeply flawed, delusional belief that if they simply mimic the outcome, they can magically bypass the brutal process. They attempt to steal your architectural blueprints, foolishly thinking that holding the paper will somehow grant them your unshakable foundation. For a very long time, this behavior likely angered you deeply. It frustrated you to the point of tears to watch highly performative, fundamentally hollow people receive cheap validation for wearing a flimsy costume stitched entirely together from the sacred fabric of your genuine suffering, healing, and triumph. But you are entirely done holding back your understanding of this dynamic. Part of unleashing your absolute best is radically shifting your perspective to recognize the profound, pathetic vulnerability inherent in their mimicry. The absolute contrast between your organic creation and their performative theft is the precise difference between a sprawling, ancient, living forest and a tiny, plastic, mass-produced diorama. They are frantic, deeply agitated, and secretly miserable because they slowly realize that no matter how perfectly they copy your external movements, they cannot ever replicate the internal divine frequency that actually gives your actions power. They are desperately trying to catch a raging thunderstorm in a leaky plastic cup. They can steal your specific phrasing, they can buy the exact same wardrobe, but they cannot steal the heavy spiritual authority required to make those words manifest into physical reality. When they attempt to speak your truths, the words fall completely dead from their lips. There is no weight behind them. There is no history of surviving the refiner's fire. There is no genuine, agonizing communion with the divine in the midnight hours. They are strictly relying on a stolen script of your past actions, meaning they are perpetually condemned to live exactly one step behind you. To fully detach from the anger this causes, you must look directly into the deep psychology of the copycat. At their absolute, fundamental core, these individuals are hollowed out. They suffer from a profound, crippling identity deficit that keeps them awake at night. When they stare at you, they do not merely see another human being. They see a completely realized finished product that they desperately, violently wish they could be. They harbor deep hatred for you because your very existence is a constant, unavoidable reminder of the painful, grueling self-reflection they have cowardly refused to undertake. Yet they obsessively study you because they believe that if they can just wear the mask of your personality tightly enough, they will somehow inherit the divine favor that rests so heavily upon your life. It is the ultimate, most desperate form of spiritual theft, driven entirely by an agonizing panic that they have absolutely nothing of real, original value to offer the universe. They realize that they only know how to perform, while you know how to simply exist in undeniable power. Once you pull back the curtain and clearly see the desperate mechanics of what they are doing, your frustration must inevitably dissolve into a profound, almost humorous sense of pity. It is genuinely, objectively comical to watch a grown adult frantically running behind you, scooping up the discarded breadcrumbs of your old ideas and attempting to host a magnificent banquet using only your leftovers. You must immediately stop feeling violated by their mimicry and start recognizing it for the ultimate, undeniable confession that it truly is. They are silently admitting, through every single stolen idea and every mimicked mannerism, that your blueprint is vastly superior to theirs. They are literally confessing, in front of the entire spiritual realm, that you are the absolute standard. You must stop holding back your brilliance out of a misplaced fear that they will steal your next move. Let them try. Let them take obsessive, frantic notes. You are not a stagnant, dying pool of water. You are a massive, rushing, inexhaustible river of divine inspiration. By the time they have successfully figured out how to poorly copy what you accomplished yesterday, you will already be operating in a completely different dimension, creating the undeniable paradigm for tomorrow. You are a limitless source. They are a tired echo. Overwhelm their capacity to copy you by operating at a level of relentless, unfiltered, unapologetic creation that leaves them utterly exhausted, completely dizzy, and entirely obsolete in your wake. Show them what you do best. and let them choke on the dust of your relentless originality. Step 4. Starve their secret competition by completely withdrawing your emotional participation. One of the most exhausting, deeply insidious burdens you have been forced to carry during your season of transformation is the slow, sickening realization that people you considered close allies, trusted friends, or even supportive family members have been secretly competing with you in a vicious war you did not even know you were fighting. This is the dark, pathetic realm of the covert narcissist, the jealous peer, and the silently seething observer. These individuals operate entirely in the shadows, meticulously and obsessively tracking your every movement, your every milestone, your every success, and your every perceived failure. They maintain an invisible, highly subjective, deeply rigged scoreboard in their minds, constantly adjusting the metrics and moving the goalposts to ensure they always maintain a feeling of artificial superiority. When you inevitably suffer a setback or a moment of pain, they quickly rush in to offer you a sickeningly sweet, highly performative pity that barely masks their profound, intoxicating relief that you have stumbled. Conversely, when you achieve a massive victory or step into a new level of abundance, they respond with deafening, deliberate silence, backhanded compliments designed to plant seeds of doubt, or sudden, aggressive attempts to immediately center themselves in your narrative. They are living their entire lives in a constant state of frantic baseline anxiety because their fragile self-worth is dangerously entirely tethered to making sure you never completely outshine them. You must deeply comprehend the absolute poverty of their internal world to grasp exactly why they engage in this bizarre behavior. The contrast between your reality and theirs is the difference between infinite creation and finite, desperate scavenging. You operate from a paradigm of immense abundance. You inherently understand that the divine is infinite, that your success is internally generated, and that your victory does not require the failure or subjugation of another human being. They, however, operate from a paradigm of utter, terrifying starvation. They possess no internal generator of self-worth. They do not produce their own light, and they cannot generate their own heat. They are energetic parasites who believe there is only a finite amount of success in the universe, and if you claim your share, it means they will inherently starve. Their deep psychology is governed by an excruciating, paralyzing fear of their own cosmic insignificance. They absolutely do not want to do the grueling, unglamorous work required to actually build something magnificent. They merely want the cheap, fleeting dopamine hit of feeling momentarily better than you. The metaphor for their covert competition is almost beautifully comical in its sheer absurdity. Imagine that you are running a grueling, lonely, profoundly transformational marathon. You are deeply focused on your breathing, managing your endurance, and conquering your own internal demons. You are running for your life and your destiny. Suddenly, a deeply insecure, out-of-shape spectator jumps over the barricade, sprints frantically beside you for exactly 20 feet, screams that they are faster than you at the top of their lungs, and then immediately collapses on the sidewalk, utterly exhausted, aggressively demanding that the crowd award them a gold medal. It is goofy. It is incredibly, pitifully absurd. And yet, this is the exact energetic dynamic of the covert competitor in your life. They are trying to turn your profound spiritual journey into a cheap 50-yard dash for their ego. They want to beat you at a game you are not even playing, desperately seeking validation from an audience that is not even watching. Showing them what you do best requires the immediate, merciless deployment of a weapon they have absolutely no defense against. Radical, devastating, absolute indifference. You are completely done holding back, and a massive part of unleashing your true power is aggressively reclaiming every single ounce of your emotional currency. You are no longer funding their pathetic need for validation. You must look at their secret competition with the cold, detached amusement it truly deserves. You are not running the same race. You are not even in the same stadium. You must completely and utterly withdraw your emotional participation from their shadow boxing. When they attempt to casually one-up your success with a fabricated story, you will not defend your achievements. You will not argue. You will simply smile a detached, entirely unbothered smile and let the silence stretch out in the room until it completely suffocates them. Let them exhaust themselves, throwing violent punches at the empty air. Let them obsessively tally the score on their imaginary scoreboard while you are busy building an entirely new empire. When you completely starve their secret competition of the reaction they so desperately crave, you instantly sever the energetic cord they have been using to drain your life force. You leave them trapped in a miserable prison of their own making, frantically competing with an opponent who has already packed up and left the building. Step 5. Evict the phantom guilt of outgrowing their stagnant, low-vibrational ecosystem. As you prepare to finally strip away the governor from your engine and show the world the unmitigated, terrifying force of your true capabilities, you will inevitably be violently confronted by the phantom guilt of outgrowing the people who have deliberately chosen stagnation as a permanent lifestyle. This is not a random emotional response. It is a highly specific, deeply weaponized emotional snare designed by the darkness to drag the ascending chosen one aggressively back into the mud. You possess a profound sense of loyalty, a deeply ingrained, almost noble belief that you are supposed to carry your entire tribe on your back and drag them with you to the promised land. But what you are slowly, agonizingly realizing in this season of isolation is that many of the people you have been desperately trying to drag up the mountain are actively, violently fighting against the ascent. They are not helpless victims of unfortunate circumstance. They are dedicated volunteers of their own misery. They have built incredibly comfortable, heavily fortified identities entirely around their trauma, their endless complaints, and their perpetually cyclical drama. When you actually begin to heal, when you meticulously optimize your life, and when you start executing the massive plans they only ever wanted to drunkenly fantasize about, you instantly become a walking, talking, breathing indictment of their profound laziness. The psychology driving their frantic, hostile reaction to your growth is deeply rooted in the absolute terror of the mirror. Your relentless, unapologetic forward momentum violently strips away all of their carefully constructed excuses. If you, who came from the exact same background, who faced the exact same or even worse traumas, and who had access to the exact same resources, can rise from the ashes and successfully forge a life of excellence, profound peace, and high vibrational abundance, then they can no longer blame the universe, the economy, or their childhood for their failure to launch. You force them to stare directly at their own hands and realize they are the ones holding themselves underwater. Because their fragile egos cannot handle this agonizing realization, they will immediately attempt to project their intense self-hatred directly onto you. They will loudly accuse you of thinking you are superior. They will weaponize nostalgia, constantly reminding you of the good old days when you were all equally miserable, broke, and bonded by a collective failure to thrive. They will desperately try to induce a phantom guilt, suggesting that your pursuit of excellence is somehow a malicious betrayal of your roots. The contrast between your reality and theirs is the difference between an eagle navigating the stratosphere and a crab refusing to leave the bucket. You must forcibly, permanently evict this phantom guilt from the sacred architecture of your psyche. It is an energetic intruder, a malicious virus designed specifically to crash your spiritual operating system. Imagine attempting to tow a completely stripped, rusted, wheel-less vehicle up the steepest, most treacherous incline of a jagged mountain, using nothing but a fraying thin rope tied tightly around your own waist. The vehicle is offering absolutely zero assistance. It has no working engine. It is nothing but dead weight, violently scraping against the rocks, physically pulling you backward with every single agonizing step you take forward. Evicting this guilt means taking a sharp knife and slicing that rope without a single millisecond of hesitation or regret. It is not an act of malice or cruelty to cut the rope. It is an act of absolute, necessary survival. You cannot save people who are deeply romantically committed to drowning. Their total reliance on the script of collective misery is over. Your authentic alignment requires extreme, breathtaking altitude, and it is a basic law of spiritual physics that you cannot reach the summit while carrying the luggage of people who completely refuse to pack for the trip. By dropping the guilt, you instantly become lighter, faster, and exponentially more dangerous to the dark forces that thought they could keep you contained through the manipulation of your empathy. You are showing them what you do best by refusing to apologize for gravity. You leave them exactly where they fought so incredibly hard to stay. You must allow them the dignity of their own choices, even if those choices lead them into deeper stagnation. Your responsibility is to your calling, not to the comfort of those who refuse to grow. When you banish the phantom guilt, you reclaim the absolute sovereignty of your soul, leaving their heavy, toxic ecosystem far behind as you launch into the limitless expanse of your true destiny. Step 6. Embrace your profound isolation as the sacred architecture of your ascension. There is a profound, aching, deeply resonant loneliness that inevitably accompanies the path of the chosen one. A heavy, sometimes suffocating blanket of isolation that can make you question your own sanity. As you begin to align more fiercely and unapologetically with your true calling, and as you finally start showing them what you do best, you will naturally notice a rapid, sometimes incredibly painful thinning of your social circles. People you genuinely thought would be standing shoulder to shoulder with you for a lifetime suddenly fade away, become overtly hostile, or simply drift into a completely different, incompatible frequency. Your immediate, conditioned human instinct is to view this sudden isolation as a severe punishment. You panic, assuming that your new boundaries have made you rigid and unlovable, or that your intense spiritual growth has somehow alienated you from the basic warmth of human connection. You must immediately, violently strip this false, fear-based narrative from your mind. The isolation you are experiencing right now is not a penalty for doing something wrong. It is the precise, deliberate, highly engineered architecture of your ascension. The absolute contrast between your sacred incubation and the desperate, frantic crowd gathering of the world around you is staggering. You are currently being drawn deep into the wilderness, into the quiet, undisturbed, heavily protected spaces where the divine can speak directly to your spirit without the muddying, competing noise of human opinion. You are sitting in the sacred void, allowing the old, accommodating versions of yourself to be meticulously dismantled so that your final, ultimate form can seamlessly emerge. The toxic, performative people you recently left behind, however, are utterly terrified of the void. They cannot sit alone in a room for 5 minutes without their minds turning into a haunted house of self-reproach and anxiety. Therefore, they frantically surround themselves with constant noise, with deeply superficial relationships, and with an echo chamber of enabling validators who eagerly excuse their dysfunction. They collect people not for genuine soul-nourishing connection, but purely as human shields against their own crushing insecurities. They look at your quiet isolation and mock you for being alone, completely and entirely failing to realize that they are infinitely more lonely in a crowded room than you will ever be in the stark beauty of the wilderness. The psychological reality of why the divine deliberately isolates the chosen is rooted in the absolute necessity of unfiltered programming. When you are constantly, daily surrounded by insecure, performative individuals, your subconscious mind is continually, involuntarily processing their fears, their limitations, and their toxic projections. You unconsciously adjust your posture, shrink your vocabulary, and limit your vision to accommodate their lack of capacity. The divine actively isolates you because it needs to completely, permanently sever those energetic tethers. It needs you in a space where the only frequency you are tuning into is the raw, unadulterated, terrifying truth of your monumental calling. The people who are trying to bring you down right now, the ones orchestrating your exclusion, are actually serving a massive, unintended divine purpose. Their hostility is the exact catalyst you needed to finally stop seeking comfort in spaces that were always meant to be temporary. Their rejection is the universe's ultimate, most efficient protection mechanism. Imagine the profound, violent metamorphosis of the caterpillar dissolving completely inside the chrysalis. It is a dark, brutal, and entirely solitary process. The caterpillar does not invite a committee of other insects into the chrysalis to ask for their consensus on how the wings should be designed. It completely submits to the absolute isolation because it inherently knows it is the only environment where the transformation can actually occur. Your imitators and secret haters are out there in the world right now, frantically gluing dead leaves to a rotting branch, desperately trying to convince everyone passing by that they are a vibrant, growing tree. They are entirely focused on the external performative decoration. You, however, are deep inside the chrysalis. You are dissolving your ego into your ultimate form. The silence around you is not empty, it is thick and heavy with the miraculous, invisible work of your spiritual reassembly. You must stop fighting the isolation and start fiercely utilizing it as the ultimate luxury of time and unbothered focus. Stop looking back at the dead branches you were painfully pruned from and mourning the loss of leaves that were already withered and useless. Embrace the absolute, unapologetic power of your solitude. Use this quiet, heavily guarded season to sharpen your skills, to deepen your spiritual roots, and to finalize the exact blueprint of your next massive move. When you finally emerge from this incubation chamber, you will not step out as the accommodating person they remember. You will step out with an undeniable authority, a terrifying clarity, and a sheer momentum that they cannot comprehend, let alone compete with. Step 7. Unleash the raw, unapologetic devastation of your authentic mastery. This brings us to the ultimate, inescapable climax of your entire journey. The exact moment where the brutal internal alchemy you have suffered through in the dark is finally brought into the unforgiving, blazing light of day. For years, you have quietly accumulated profound knowledge, rigorously refined your intuition, endured the agonizing shattering of your ego, and painstakingly rebuilt your spirit from the atomic level upward. You have been a quiet, intensely observant student of life, taking mental notes, understanding the profound, hidden mechanics of the world around you, all while the loud, the arrogant, and the foolish desperately mistook your silence for ignorance. You have held back to keep the artificial peace. You have held back out of a deeply ingrained fear of outshining your peers and making them feel inadequate. You have held back because you were systematically conditioned by a sick society to believe that your raw, unfiltered brilliance was somehow too much for the delicate world to handle. But the era of your suppression is permanently, irrevocably closed. It is time to show them exactly what it is you do best, and to do so with a level of raw, unapologetic mastery that leaves absolutely no room for debate, no room for interpretation, and absolutely no room for their clumsy, performative mimicry. The contrast between your final unleashing and their stagnant existence is absolute and terrifying. Their entire life is an endless series of panicked reactions, a desperate, exhausting scrambling to maintain a flimsy facade of control over a narrative they do not actually dictate. Your unleashing, however, is the pure, proactive, unstoppable manifestation of divine will flowing effortlessly through a highly purified vessel. When you finally decide to stop holding back, the impact is not loud, chaotic, or desperate in the way their tantrums are. It is the terrifying, absolute, quiet devastation of undeniable competence. The imitators, the covert haters, and the toxic parasites will immediately experience a profound, existential panic. They arrogantly thought they had you completely figured out. They foolishly thought your previous, suppressed, traumatized state was the absolute maximum limit of your capacity. They built their entire pathetic strategy of containment around a fragile version of you that simply does not exist anymore. Now, as you step fully into your immense power, as you speak your truth without a single stutter of doubt, and as you execute your massive vision with the cold, beautiful precision of a master craftsman, they are left standing in the absolute rubble of their own gross underestimation. Imagine the slow, completely silent shifting of massive continental tectonic plates deep beneath the surface of the ocean. For centuries, there is nothing but immense, quiet, invisible pressure. The tiny superficial creatures swimming happily near the surface have absolutely no idea of the unfathomable, world-ending energy being stored just below them. But when the plates finally slip, when the friction is finally released after years of agonizing pressure, it creates a massive, unstoppable tidal wave that permanently, violently rearranges the continents. You are that tectonic shift. You are not splashing around in the shallow end of the kiddie pool, desperately trying to get attention like they are. You have been dwelling in the abyssal depths, accumulating massive, undeniable spiritual, intellectual, and emotional density. Unleashing your mastery means you finally allow the wave to break the surface. You do not do this out of petty revenge. You do not do this to intentionally punish them or to make them feel small. You do this because holding back the sheer force of the ocean is violently destroying your own shores. You unleash your mastery simply because it is your natural, biological, and spiritual state of being. You produce absolute excellence because it is the inherent frequency of your soul. When you show them what you do best, whether that is building a business, creating art, healing the broken, leading a movement, or simply existing in a state of profound, untouchable peace, you achieve the ultimate, final victory. You do this without a single apology, without a moment of hesitation, and without a single shred of the false, suffocating humility they tried to force upon you. You become entirely untouchable. They will try to find a flaw in your execution, but they will only find the smooth, impenetrable surface of your dedication. They will try to critique your altitude, but their voices will not carry in the thin atmosphere of your success. The deep psychology of their total surrender is that they are finally forced to accept the undeniable hierarchy of the spiritual realm. They chose the comfort of the script, and you chose the agony of the calling. The results are now self-evident. Step fully into the terrifying, magnificent reality of your power. Show them the absolute devastation of a chosen one who has finally remembered exactly who they are. Listen to me closely as we pull back to view the grand, sweeping architecture of your entire experience. We must zoom out and look at the magnificent tapestry of what has actually occurred in your life over these past months and years. The absolute truth of your journey, the underlying reason for the intense isolation, the bizarre betrayals, and the relentless, chaotic spiritual friction is that your organic, authentic alignment has always been the real target. The enemy, acting through the insecure, the toxic, and the highly performative individuals in your sphere was never actually trying to destroy your physical life, your bank account, or your reputation. They were desperately trying to corrupt your internal alignment. They wanted to force you to operate on their low, miserable frequency of bitterness, envy, and constant scarcity. But the operation has entirely failed. You refused the bait. You chose the agonizing, lonely path of internal purification. You chose to sit in the white-hot fire until all the impurities of people-pleasing, false guilt, and artificial modesty were permanently burned away. You must realize right now that you do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to orchestrate an elaborate downfall for those who tried to keep you buried in the dirt. Revenge is a low-vibration activity reserved for those who still feel fundamentally powerless. You are not powerless. Your staggering, exponential, uncontainable growth is the absolute and final verdict. Your radical peace, your undeniable success, and your deeply rooted joy are the ultimate judgments against their hollow, performative existence. Let your unbothered elevation be the gavel dropping on their irrelevance. You are a chosen one. You have paid the excruciating price in the dark, and now you will unapologetically collect the massive reward in the light. They didn't see this version of you coming, but the universe did, and it has been waiting for you to arrive. If this message resonated with the deepest unspoken parts of your spirit today, if you felt the heavy internal chains of false obligations snap while listening to these words, do not leave this space without leaving your mark. Subscribe to the channel right now. Hit that like button to physically seal this energetic shift and tell the algorithm you are ready for ascension. Drop a comment below declaring that you are done holding back, with what point hit you hardest, and share this video